Welcome in session 94E from the well-known mobile Little Studio 11, where we go a bit further, last part actually that we are considering, concerning the bubble sort. So we read here, consider the following array of integers, and this is then the array 13, 7, 8, 1. Show the steps the bubble sort applied to array EA algorithm performs in an unambiguous progress table where you keep at least track of the values that I, J, and the array A go through. So also A will change and we have to keep track of that also. We have talked about the bubble sort algorithm before, so otherwise you copy it or you set the video on hold for a while. But now I will go to a table environment, and actually it will be an Excel environment, and there we'll go through the steps. So just a sec. Yeah, so this is the setting that we are going through. So step by step, yeah, will take a while. So if you think it's too too long, or because I don't know how long it will take some time. So I can understand if you don't, if you can't hold on until the end. But we will go through it and we'll start right away. Yeah. So the algorithm starts at line 1, coming in the algorithm with this array. This I've put here out because it's array under test, but we mean, of course, the array A. Then what happens? Well, for I, so what have I put here? So all those columns indicate in which row I will consider which value or condition and so on that I will try to hold. Yeah. So we will see, of course, what will happen with the array, and we should see the bubble sort effect as we discussed earlier. So I will go on now. For starters, n, how much is n? Well, it's an array here of 4 elements, so n is 4. I hope you can see it also. Do I have to make it a bit bigger? Maybe I will try, but let's try to, yeah, a bit like that. Is that better? 4. Then, what do we then next? Maybe a bit bigger still. Yeah, it's too big, but anyway, why not then? So maybe, yeah, I had to do that earlier. Now I'm doing it now, like that. Okay, now we are starting. Yeah? So in row or line 1, we have to take into account n minus 2. So n minus 2 is 4 minus 2, isn't it? Yeah, 2. So then the counter I takes the first time the value 0, okay? Then we will find out if 0 is smaller than or equal to 2. Yeah, it's a Dutch version that I have here, so it will be waar, which means true in English. Then we have here n minus 1, and n minus 1 is this value minus 1. Yeah, where does it come from? Well, I'm already in line 2. Yeah, maybe I should tell what I'm doing. So this is this upper limit, upper bound that I have. This is the initial value of I, and I'm now in the for loop trying to find out if I can go into the for loop. So is I smaller than or at least equal to n minus 2? Otherwise, I have to stop the for loop. This is the case, so I go on and I come in line 2 where I have to take into account n minus 1, and being in our case 3. Okay, so j takes this value to start with. So j takes this value to start with, and will go down to I plus 1. So I plus 1 has which value? I plus 1 is this value plus 1, so 1. And then we have to do the control of the following condition. I see something is missing there, so just, yeah, the plus 1 was not there, so now we are here again. So I have to consider, is that smaller than or equal to j? That's true, so j is still bigger than the lower bound because we are going down. So that means I'm going into the inner loop, and there I have the value j minus 1, so j minus 1 is this value, and then I have to take aj, and that's something I'm going to take from this array, just aj, j being, oh, I have to see what I do now. Aj, make it a bit smaller here, a bit smaller like this. So aj, j being 3, so that is this value. This is 3. I hope you see it. Yeah. So that is 1. Then I have to take aj minus 1, that is a2, this value. Yeah. Oh, this is this value, okay. Now I have to control whether aj is smaller than aj minus 1. That is true. Watch out, it's Dutch, but it means true. So that means that I'm going into this selection and I'm going to use a temp value which going to hold the value of aj minus 1 for a time, because the two will be interchanged, one being smaller than 1 than 8 coming to the other place. So aj minus 1 now is getting in rule 5, in line number 5, that's here, getting the value of aj, so that is the value of 1. And we're going to change it here because it means that now A2 has the value 1. So we have this intermediate array at this moment. I hope you see it. So this has changed. AJ minus 1 has changed. So I will go on the next line because another thing is going to happen in rule number 6. I hope you see it. Namely, AJ going to take the value of temp. So that means that now this value on 3, J is being 3, A3 has taken the value of temp, and that is 8. So I hope you see what has happened. So the 1 is coming up. I hope you see it. So now we're at the end of rule number 6. Rule number 7 doesn't mean that much, but then rule number 8, end of the 4. What's going to happen? Well, we're going down with our counter j. So j gets now the value of j minus 1, being 2. And we go back from here, rule number 8 to beginning of rule, almost the beginning of rule number 2. That is here because we don't take into account that anymore. That is done for the initialization, but we come here in rule number 2 and we say, okay, j now is 2, and we start all over again. Yeah, that's computers, of course. So how much is I plus 1? Well, I think I plus 1 is still 1, nothing has changed with I. So we're going to check this condition. I copy it and I paste it. It's a relative copy, so you can look it up here, what is actually in the cell. And then we take j minus 1 being j minus 1, this one. It's always the same. So j being 2, so that is this value, a2. And then we take aj minus 1, so that is a1, this is 7, that's this value. And then we're going to control once again in rule number 3, that is here, if the value of aj is smaller. That is the case. So we go into the selection. Temp gets the value of aj minus 1, that is 7. Then aj minus 1 gets the value of aj. So that means j being 2. What's going to happen now? aj minus 1, is 1. My fault. So it's going to be 1 on this place, and we have this intermediate array. I hope you see it, this intermediate array. So I go on the next line. j being 2 gets the value of, that's happening here in rule number 6, the value of temp being 7. So this will be then the value 7, and this will be the 8, this will be the 1, and this will be the 13. So we come out of the selection at the end of rule number 8, where j gets subtracted with 1. And we go again, it's always the same. That's computing at the beginning of rule 2, almost the beginning. So we come here like this, I plus 1 stays the same. We check again. In the beginning it's a lot of work, but you will see towards the end, of course, luckily it's only an array of 4, it will go faster. So now it's still tricky. J minus 1 is j minus 1. So aj, j is 1, is the value of 1. aj minus 1 is the 13. We're going to check the condition again in Dutch. Sorry for that. So then temp is going to take, because it's true, so we go into the selection. Temp is going to take the value of aj minus 1. Then aj minus 1 is going to take the value of aj. aj minus 1, aj minus 1 being 0, so that means this value. And now we have this intermediate array. I hope you see it, And then we go on here, because aj gets the value of temp. So the 13 comes here, I hope you see it, and this comes here, and this stays the same as it was. And then, j is subtracted with 1 again, so minus 1, and that means that we go to the beginning of, almost to the beginning of line number 2, and we give j, or j has the value of 0. I plus 1 is still 1. we're gonna check if that value, that condition that we have to hold here, that is this condition for a for loop, is still true. And what do we see? Onwaar, which means in English false. So that means that we will leave the inner for loop and come to the real end of line number 8 and the beginning, or let's say the rule number 9, where we have to go. So rule number 1, that's here, we have to add to I a value. So I being, now I have to go all the way up. I hope you see it. I being 0, we start at 0, and now we have to add, you can't see it, I will do it here. We have to add, we are here, 1, so now that is 1, okay, and then we can go back from line 9 to line 1, that is here, almost line 1, because this stayed the same, but we come here. I cannot show you everything, so I try to do it this way. Maybe I will make it a bit smaller, then you see a lot more. So maybe it's better. So we come here and we take the value of I being 1, and we start all over again. People who say, okay, I've seen enough, okay, bye-bye, maybe next time, but I will go on until I've done everything. So I have to consider again, but here I have to watch out, because this value is not kept. It's a relative copying that I will do. So I will push the F4 button, so I have an absolute copying, and now it will work. And I will copy it, and it's true, of course, and we can see that 1 is smaller, and even not equal to 2. So it's true. We go again in the line number 2, the second inner loop. So there we have to consider n minus 1 is 3 for the initial value of j. Then we have j being that, having that value, so 3. And then I plus 1, watch out now, is the value of 1 plus 1 being 2. Once again, we check whether we can go into the inner loop, and this is true, of course, because we can see that I plus 2, so 2 is smaller than 3, and we have to go down from 3 beyond or under the value of 2. And at this moment, this is not the case. So there we go again. 3 minus 1 being 2. Then aj, we take a3, that is 8, we take that. Then aj minus 1, this is 7, this is this value, and we try to find out whether the 8 is smaller than the 7, which is not the case. So we go not into the selection and go to the end of line 7, beginning of line 8 immediately, so that it's here, and we're gonna increase in line 8 the j count. Excuse me, we're gonna decrease the j counter with 1, so that's happening here. Everything stays the same, so I don't write anymore, and we go back to almost the beginning of line 2 with the counter j on with a value of 2. There I plus 1 is still 2. We have to find out whether the condition to looping, to continue looping, is true. It's not, j is not bigger, it's not greater than 2, it's still equal to, so we have to go into the inner loop. There again we take j minus 1 being 1, then aj is a2 now, and we do it like this, so it's a 7, and aj minus 1 is the 13, so we're gonna take the 13 there. We're gonna try to find out whether our condition of our selection is true or and we can see that actually 7 is smaller than 13. So what happens now? Temp takes the value of aj minus 1, this is 13, then aj minus 1 takes the value of aj. So that means that we have now the what do we have here? Just a second. No, it's fault for me. So this will be 7 now. I have to do it like that. And this will also be 7. So this is the intermediate array, because what happens now? Well, aj, this is this line, I will take the value of temp being 13 and j being at this moment 2. So that means this value here. So 13, and then we have this value, and now the value 7 has bubbled up, let's say, it's bubbled up. Is it finished? Well, no, we have to decrease our j with a value of 1, so minus 1, and go back to almost the beginning of that line number 2. So there we have value 1. I plus 2 is still 2, so we have to try to find out whether we can continue looping. Is that the case? No. So we will stop the inner loop, go to the line number 9, that's here, where we will increase the value of I with 1. That's happening here. And then we go back to the beginning of the outer loop, and then we have the value of I there. Now we have to find out whether we can continue looping. Is 2 bigger, bigger than or equal to 2? Yeah, that's the case. So yeah, there we can, some of you already know that it will be the last time that we will loop through the outer loop. If not, then something will go wrong, I think. But anyway, we are not that far yet. Let's continue. N minus 1 still is 3. J takes the value of n minus 1. Then I plus 1 will be now 2 plus 1 being 3. Is the condition true to go to the inner loop? Yeah, because 3 is still bigger or greater than 3. So j minus 1 will be 3 minus 1 being 2. Aj is A2 is the 13. Aj minus 1 is the, now I have to watch out because I did something wrong. Wrong. Watch out. I was looking at the 2, but j at the moment is 3. Watch out. So I have to take the aj being a3, this value, and aj minus 1 is a2, j still being, you hope you see it, aj still being at this moment 3. I hope you see it. So aj minus 1 is a2, is this value, this is the 13. We have to find out whether the condition in line number 3 is true or not, and it is true. Aj is smaller than the 13, so we will go into the selection. We will give temp the value aj minus 1, it's always the same, and aj by the swap will take the value of aj being 8. So now the array is changing, so the 8 is bubbling up now. I hope you see it. Yeah, it's lying horizontally, but if you put it upwards in vertical position, then I hope you can see. This is the intermediate situation of the array, but it's not finished yet because aj will take the value of temp. And so now aj being 3, we have the array looking like this, where this value comes here on the position of 3. We come at the end of the selection, come at the end of the for loop. We have to, this for loop is here, we have to decrease our j value, j being 3 minus 1 is 2, and we go back to the beginning of the for loop here, almost the beginning in line 2, that is here, line 2, I hope you see it, and there we have for j the value 2. We have still for the value of I plus 1, 3, so we have to check whether the condition is true or not to continue our for loop. It's not the case because our j is now 2 and our I plus 1 is 3, that's standing here. So we will go right away to the end of the for loop and then coming in line 9, that is here line 9, and there what do we have to do before we go back to the beginning of a for loop? We have to increase the value of I, which is standing here, with 1, which we do now, and then we say, okay, now I'm gonna try again the outer for loop, and I has taken the value of 3, and we have to see and check whether I is still smaller than n minus 2. Is that the case? No, it's not true, because n minus 2 is 2 and I has got a value of 3. So that means that we go to the end of the, to the next line, we leave the outer for loop and we go to the beginning of line 10. And what is do we do in line 10? Well, nothing less or nothing more than returning to the program where this method was called, this array, and I hope you see that it is sorted from small to bigger values. And I hope you see also that the bubbling has taken place, so the 1 has bubbled up, I hope you see it, and then the 7 has bubbled up. Okay, of course there are only 4 values, so you don't see that much, but it's happening, and so then the 8 bubbles up. And would you take, if you would take more, but you see how long it takes, if you would take more elements, you would see it more in more detail or more bigger perspective, but that's the question that was asked, I think, and namely to see everything that's going on within the bubble sort, and that is what we did.